Were ballots in Madison counted without that signature, without those initials?
The initials? Not actually. I don't think so in Madison, but
I would beg to differ on that. I want you to think about that before you answer.
Can I speak, or are we?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. McDonell, for your testimony. I just first like to say, before I get into my question, that you brought up my cockroach comment, and I would like to say that we're hearing testimony about elections being held in Milwaukee. I was speaking specifically of that, and I was specifically talking about people who bullied election observers. Do you think bullying election observers is a reasonable way, to act in that situation?
No, I hear your point. I just tell you, as an election official, how I heard it was directed at election officials. I disagree strongly with bullying observers. I said many times during the recount we just did for 9 days that there's no point having a recount if the observers can't see the ballots, if they can't see the envelopes. And I think, we worked really hard to make sure that the observers could see everything. We tried to, make sure everything was respectful. That transparency of being able to be in the polling place, at the canvass, at the recount, the point of that is to instill confidence in our election system. And I just, so no, I agree with you, and I will take that as what you meant.
Mr. McDonell,
one day of beating on election officials.
I'd just like to say that my own clerk lives on my street as a neighbor and a friend and a very honorable person, and so that's not the kind of people I was talking about. But the question I had for you here is that state statute, specifically 6.84, directs that absentee ballot processes are mandatory and says ballots cast in contravention of the procedures specified in those provisions may not be counted. In 6.87, it says, if a certificate is missing the address of a witness, the ballot may not be counted. I'm trying to understand why you even have to ask for someone, to give you guidance on that. It would be, would seem to be totally clear. And if somebody gave me guidance and said, well, this is the law, but yeah, you don't have to do that. That'd be like if I asked some bureaucrat if I could rob the bank and they said, oh yeah, go ahead and do that. That would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, all I can tell you is that, the judge today said that there was no violation of the Wisconsin election laws in this election. This was the judge chosen by Justice Rogensack from Racine County. And, that objection was not raised 4 years ago by the Trump campaign. It was still in effect then. So I don't know what to tell you other than that's a policy.
But my question was, why do clerks even need guidance on that?
All the election issues. I wish you had Megan Wolf here to answer your guys' questions, and you declined to do that. I guess I'm going to have to be Megan Wolf for I don't know how long, but I wish you'd invited more election professionals from WEC and other places to answer your questions now that we're at this point. I'm sorry, someone's talking.
Guys, I forgot to touch the button, my fault.
Okay.
For clarification, so every absentee certificate envelope has to have a signature from the clerk that says that they got an ID, that they saw an ID, or they're exempt.
Right.
Were ballots in Madison counted without that signature, without those initials?
The initials? Not actually. I don't think so in Madison, but
I would beg to differ on that. I want you to think about that before you answer.
Can I speak, or are we? Can I speak? So there, but to your point, Representative, there were many other communities. I mean, we have 56 communities in Dane County. There were envelopes without initials on them from the clerk, and they were not drawn down. If that were the case, we did not draw down for clerk error. We did draw down many ballots that shouldn't have been counted. There were many that did not have the witness signature. I mean, the witness. Well,
So you just told. Well, hold on. You just told me that you have a fair election, but you're telling me that you counted ballots that were not legally acceptable because they did not have the two, or I should say, the initial on. So I just want to make sure that we're clear. You counted ballots in Dane County that did not have the initials, which are part of the process to guarantee that the vote will be counted.
They were not drawn down, actually, is what you mean to say, Representative. So, what we did 4 years ago and what we did this time is we do not penalize voters for clerk error. The voter did nothing wrong, their vote is not tossed. If the voter does something wrong, it can be. In the case of not signing the envelope, in the case of not having a witness address or a witness signature, I mean, on that, I was often the 2-1 vote, myself and the Republican member of the Board of Canvass saying, no, you have to be able to refer the item to the DA. And if you don't have enough information, how do you do that? It's the same with nomination papers. I totally agree with you guys when you added the, print your name. Because how am I supposed to refer anything if I don't even know who that is, right? So in that sense, you need to be able to report voter fraud to the district attorney's office. If it's the clerk, and you can see it's been issued by the clerk, the DA can go to the clerk's office. In Madison, what they pre-print, the initials on them. So I'm trying to remember exactly if there were any that didn't, but that kept that from happening. So in Madison, but it was something that happened in many other communities, I'm sure across the whole entire state. We only looked at Madison, Dane, and Milwaukee.
All right, very good. Thank you for your testimony today. I appreciate it, and thanks for waiting until the end. Somebody always has to be the last one, and it made more sense to have you listen to everybody's testimony first. So thank you for that patience. And it is 5:38. We've listened to all of our testimony. This was our first hearing. I do believe additional hearings are necessary on these issues. But with that, it is Friday and past 5 o'clock, so I think we've worked hard today. And with that, I'd like to conclude.